What is happening? Welcome to the Will Studios. I'm Will, and I am making a comic book. I started working on this years ago, but we're in the home stretch of production. I have most of the first issue tightly storyboarded out, and I'm almost done sort of getting good enough at art to actually produce the damn thing. There's a dozen very basic things I still have to work on. My lettering um, is the main thing, the most recent thing, because I started putting out a rough copy of page 3 and realized just how bad I am. That's something that I hadn't given any thought to because it didn't really strike me as something I thought I could just do it. But anyway, here we are. So the comic book is called Release. This is a concept that kind of gelled together about a year and a half ago. I was working on some other things before that. I was trying to make a video game, but none of that. We're working on Release now. Um, and this is the current state of things. This is how bad I am at art right now. There's some I'm good and I'm bad, okay? But I'm at a stage now where I think I can make it work, you know. None of this is going to sell unless I can sell myself a little bit. I'm going to have to try to go on other people's streams, things like that. I can't just make art in my basement and put it on the internet one day. It doesn't work like that. So here we are. This is episode 1. Talking about my journey a little bit. So this is the way the cover currently is. It used to look like this. This was the first sketch that I did of it, of the concept after I had it in my head. And I'm still working on the logo looks better. Where is it? Where are we at? The logo looks better, but still it's like 50% there, man. I'm going to be I'm going to do the first 25 pages as I can now. I'm going to use those to grow, you know. Hopefully doing that publicly I can get more attention and I can have a big release for Release. Hopefully people can ask me questions about Release so that I can answer them, so that I can, I'm excited about this. I'm really looking forward to all this coming together. Um, so yeah, it looked like this. Then it looked like this, right? This was when, because I did this one, and I'm like, I gotta color it, and I never really colored anything before. You notice I never really shaded anything before either. I'm a doodler at heart. I'm pretty good at hands. I feel like, although these hands. Well, let me give myself a red. Freaking. Anyway, like these. Come on, cancel. Give me. Sorry. Like these hands, I redid a bajillion times before. Just forget about it. I'm not. Someday I'll get it. But it's almost like you can see the problems. Like some of these videos are just going to turn into like little tutorials, right? Because if I put this out there, like it made sense to me at the time, but then the more I looked at it, the worse it looked, and I'm like, I had to redo it. You realize these fingers are not the right length, or it's like they don't bend like that, or it's like, okay, this is curved this way when it should be curved this way, right? So if I bring this knuckle up, that brings this finger up. It changes this curve, right? So, switch to blue real quick. If I were to draw this properly, the hand is coming like out at you, and the tips of the fingers would be more like that, maybe. I could waste a whole day on this. I wasted like 3 days on this at the time. But you can see how bad I was. Well, anyway. This was me like 6 months ago. And then it upgraded to this, and there's good things and bad things about this. I had this obelisk idea, right? Because I wanted to do like a floating city. Release takes place 30 years in the future, by the way, and we've had several technological leaps. We have gravity manipulating technology, but it's relatively limited. Only a few people get to decide what to do with it at this point in our history. One of the things is creating a giant floating city, right? And my initial thought for this city was that, like, it could transform, you know? Parts of it could shift around and move. So then it's like, let's say there's a shopping mall on one level, they could rearrange it if they wanted to, or they could add a new store if one went out of business, or they could repurpose things. Like, everything was modular. Everything was modular and could shift around like a transformer. But I ditched that idea. I don't like it anymore. Not for this anyway. Because I didn't like the look of it. In my imagination, having giant obelisk cities sounds really cool. But then looking at it and trying to make it look good, at least at the time, it wasn't working out. And so I upgraded that. This girl... What did I name her? I had a coworker that said I should name it after her, but I'm like, I don't know about all that. Anyway, she is no longer orange hair anymore. She's not wearing these glasses. I was trying to, like... She looks like a friggin' April O'Neil, Jetsons. I don't know where I was going with this. It's been a journey, the whole fashion side of things. Because I hate the idea that someone looks generic, and when I'm watching anime, when I'm looking at different artists, like, the better they're able to capture, like, fashion and make people, like, actually look cool, that adds a lot. So I've been trying to wrap my head around that and come up with my own, like, styles and stuff, because this is 30 years in the future, and what are people wearing? And so a lot of it's the same, some, but, like, slightly different. I figured if I have better materials in the future, people would wear kind of whatever they want, but it would be more... it would let air flow. Like, this looks like it might be fall, but maybe it's summer. Anyway, that's another freaking... There's so many creative quagmires, right, that will draw you away from the central goal of producing a fucking comic book. Sorry. I can say fuck on the internet. Anyway, of producing a comic book. Designing the city. I feel like I spent a lot of time on this. I'm not using any of it, but I do, looking at it again, I kind of like the way it looks in a way. But I started putting, like, motion blurs, because I'm like, where are they? And at first I was thinking it would be a small city kind of in the middle of the country, because everything's so decentralized now, and um, people want fresh air. So more and more people are building out the smaller, like, little towns that exist right now. Like, right now, they exist along highways and stuff like that. You'll find these little places where people settled because of whatever reason. But I think in the future, there's going to be a lot more people living in those areas and less on the coast, because the coast is going to they're going to be trying to rehab the oceans and stuff. Anyway, that's an idea that I might do away with. I don't know, man. But I settled on, like, medium-sized Midwestern city as the setting, pretty much. But changed that, and I just, like, this was where I decided it was just going to take place on the street that it takes place on, you know? I'm looking at when you read the first 25 pages of the story, it all takes place here, kind of at this bus stop location. And so I decided, instead of instead of zooming out and being, like, over the city and trying to do, like, a more detailed, like, cityscape, I would do something more ground level, something more like what's going to be in the comic book. Although now thinking about it, a lot of it takes place over the city. Anyway, um, and it came out looking more grounded, because I walk around the city that I live in. There's plenty of brick buildings. It's not all, when I look at a DC comic book or a Marvel comic book, it's clear that they're living in Manhattan. They're living in cities with hyper futuristic things, right? Like, Metropolis is supposed to be a city of tomorrow. It has its own sort of character. In my story, I wanted to be a little more realistic, where it's like, we're not just going to bulldoze all the old structures. We're going to try to repurpose them, clean them up, whatever. So uh, that's why we still have a brick building in this city. The 7-layer parking garage, though, had to go, because I'm looking at this, and this is another creative quagmire, But I almost feel like all of these creative quagmires, if you follow them, you are gaining something. Like, okay, I ditched the boxy yellow freaking jacket up here, and I made it something smaller. And I was almost thinking, like, okay, video game character inspired, because her personality is going to be more wannabe e-girlish kind of deal, where she has a lot of subscribers, but not a lot of subscribers. There's a lot of, just like today, people monetizing social media, but it's just sort of elevated. It's 30 years in the future. But I thought about people playing retro games, because it's like, when technology gets to a point where you can do just about anything, I feel like younger people are going to gravitate more towards, just like today with Minecraft and 2D sprite games. A lot of the younger kids are going for those, where the older kids, the 25, 30-year-old kids, are the ones that are going for the latest graphics and things like that, and the more complex systems. But I was thinking about having everyone a shocked face here, and I switched the hand, because I think that's where yeah, because before I still had these two hands coming up, because I was thinking, okay, release, because you're releasing someone from their mind prison in this story. The story is about the main character, Hayden, who... What the hell? My computer monitor was falling asleep on me. Hayden, who is locked into college at 32 still, because in the future you can just keep going to college forever. That's kind of how a lot of people live, because there's not a ton of jobs. There's a ton of AI taking things over. Freaking probably 55% unemployment in America at this point in the year of 2056. And so a lot of people feel like they have to just keep educating themselves so that they can keep getting government or handouts, basically, to live on. But he's in this world trying to get better at video games or something to elevate himself, because people are... there's a lack of purpose. I feel like that's going to be one of the big things that I wrestle with, that a lot of people wrestle with, is this lack of feeling of purpose in life. Even if you have like obvious things that give you purpose, you still have that sort of feeling. He's dealing with that in a real way. Hayden is. And so is... what's her name? Treva? Rebecca? Stephanie? Mercedes? What should her name be? You know? I have no idea. What should her screen name be? That's another thing. I'm gonna have to, like, ask my wife to think of one. Part of my creative process is asking other people for ideas and then discarding those ideas, because it helps me create better ideas. Everyone's seen that. I'm not special. No one is. I'm a little special. So, then we have these superheroes. 2 AI superheroes exist at this time. They are robots. And they were kind of designed as a marketing gimmick for this company. I shouldn't say gimmick. They do a lot of promotional events. A lot of what the real work that they do is cleaning up the planet. You know, they've been operating at this point in the story for like 5 or 6 years. They've gotten all the trash out of the ocean. They have telekinesis, so they can do that. They use the same gravity manipulation technology, but reworked and refined to a point where there's the silver and the red one. The silver one has a bit more control over it. The red one is a little bit more brutish in the way that he uses it, the power. So the silver one is able to get like a ton of microplastics and stuff, whereas the red one would take like the brick that the silver one creates and launch it into space or carry it to the moon, whatever. I think the moon, the far side of the moon, is probably where we're dumping a lot of our garbage now in 2056, thanks to the Red Guardian, because there's no need for propulsion, there's no need for anyone else to be doing this if he can just knock it out. You know, it's really contributing to the lack of employment, because that we could have hired a lot of people to run those spaceships anyway. A lot of scientists to work things out. So now we have this guy where I realized that like that this looks stupid. This looks ridiculous, right? Her face just would not look right. And I was watching John Mallon at one point said that faces, like if you get something, it can look like 99% right, and if something is a little wrong about it, she'll look like a potato. And I felt that with this face for sure. I felt that with his face too. And then his hair, like I realized I didn't really know how to draw hair, and so at this point, I was I was taking the black. God damn it! Come on now. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I was using like the ink bleed pen, and that's another thing is figuring out the tablets been a challenge. But I would come down one way and then go up the other way, and then that's how you get like, okay, that's shine, right? And this is the kind of thing that this is like an example of like developing a technique, because this isn't it. This isn't what I needed to be doing, but this is like one of the answers that my brain came up with, but the whole thing looked 2D, you know what I mean? Like I needed to do it differently. But anyway, now we have this, and this is still not like the final cover. This is still like I'm so close to being okay at drawing. I really feel like by the end of these 25 pages, I'm going to unlock some a lot more of my potential when it comes to this sort of stuff. I'm trying to make the Silver Guardian's armor look shiny, because he has like armor or whatever. I'm trying not to make him look too freaking generic, but I really gotta redo. Let's make it red. These are the things I gotta redo here. I gotta redo this visor. Gotta redo the visor, right? Because it can't just be like white lines going up and down. I'm gonna make it reflective. I'm gonna make it actually, because for some reason, in my imagination, this is what it looks like, and it's like cool. There's gotta be a way to make it look cool. I may figure out a way to make it look cool in the coming month. I'm hoping by the end of this month I'll have at least 20 pages. I got a full life aside from this. I'd like to quit bartending and just make comic books, but we'll see. Sometimes I have to work all day, and my days fall away from me. Anywho, I'm proud of these posters, because like this thing, okay, so you can see how I shaved off a bunch of level, because this thing was huge in the other one, right? Where are we at? Yeah, this thing was way up there, and now it's a way more reasonable height. I need to darken up here, like darken my shadows, because that's the other thing. There's not enough contrast. Nothing's popping out at me at all. So I really got to figure out either how to make. I got to get these guys, and it's, you know what? It's highlights. I gotta highlight. I gotta highlight this whole guy. Gotta highlight him up. You know, and really make him pop out from this background here. And I gotta make this bus look a little better, because it's frustrating to me how simple a bus is, because then I draw it and it looks stupid. But I know there's an answer, and I think it is going to be bringing like a little bit of like an upward slant to this roof, and it's going to be adding some crap on either side. Come on now. On either side of where it's going, and it needs to be going somewhere other than West Main, because that's way too generic. And I'm gonna have to make the windshield look shiny and not just like a freaking matte thing. And this thing needs to go. This generic looking van, which I gave it a, I decided everyone would have QR codes instead of license plates, because then it would just be universal around the country and they could just be scanned. There's cameras everywhere. But I need to either add some more like futuristic nonsense to this thing, because that's another creative quagmire is car design. Because then, okay, I'm analyzing all the cars I'm looking at, trying to like code my brain so that I could just come up with so that my cars will look good. Someday, I'm just going to be able to whip out amazing car designs. I'll have Ford calling me and like, hey man, we're almost completely out of business. The Japanese are really railing us right now, and we need a solid car design. And I would help them for money. I would help a lot of people for money. I'm hoping that enough people like the story of my comic book that they call me for advice for money. Because then I could be like, hey, this is what you need. Like, I have to put content on this channel, right? I have to try and grow it. And part of that is going to be diversifying my subject matter in a way, I think, so that I could just produce more videos at a time. And so, twice a day, one of those videos could just be me making fun of Star Wars or whatever. Like, there's analyzing, critiquing, whatever. I used to just sit around critiquing things all day, and then I got fed up with myself and decided who am I to say anything to other people if I'm not making things myself? The reason I'm critiquing things is because I'm a wannabe creative. So why not become an actual person who creates things that people can enjoy, especially if I believe I could do it. And I do believe I could do it, and I think the release is going to show people that I can do it. And then I can fix everything. Then people can trust me. People can say, okay, Will knows what he's talking about. He wrote a really good story. You can see above the E in release, we got a nice floating city now. Instead of the obelisk. The obelisk just doesn't look good. It sounds good. I like the word obelisk. I don't like the word floating city, and I'm working out the design here for this one, where the skyscrapers are going to grow up and down, but this is essentially Elysium. This floating city is essentially where if you have money and you're the type of person who wants to live in like the most gated community ever, there you go. I'm thinking I should put an amusement park up there. I'm going to make it completely self-sustaining. I'm going to make it where people on Earth are looking at this thing and thinking, when are they going to get rid of us? Like, when, because they're ruling over the planet from a floating city that's completely self-sustaining and can house like probably 4 million people in that. That's 6 million people. How many? That's if you're stacking them up, because at that it'd be bigger than Manhattan. It's huge. It's the size of a city itself. Let's say 3 million people, comfortably 3 million people, I'd say. And that's all you really need. But release is gonna be good. I'll wait. I'm not gonna over explain anything until I get a little bit of attention. People can ask me questions. I'll answer questions about it. I have 3 actual followers on X right now. I'm hoping I get a few more soon. We'll see. Anywho, we could draw a little bit. We're at 30 minutes. I started drawing the X-Men the other day. I kind of laid it out where I was going to have Cyclops here in the middle and Beast and Rogue and stuff. Here, let's draw Rogue. And I feel like this morning when I was drawing, I really made a breakthrough as far as like hashing is concerned. Cross hatching. Where's she looking? Up this way? Or should she be looking... She's got her fist up here. If she's got her fist up here, she would be looking over there. But if she's looking down, I feel like her arms would be like more like this. So let's do that. And I think this was going to be Gambit. He can move over a little bit to make room. So, that can be the second half of this episode. I can be working on this one. What's her hand doing here? If this one's a fist, this one, I'll figure that out in a second. Because they're getting ready for battle? Should she be carrying Gambit, or should she be like patting him on the head or something? When I'm thinking about this, it's like, okay, so I start thinking about like, you start something with the end in mind, right? So let's just draw her face first. And for girls, I generally draw like a triangle, right? And I try to define where her eyebrows are going to be. And then, like, bring in the nose and stuff, kind of frame out the face a little bit. I'm doing it in a real rough way. That's kind of... Sometimes that's just how I do it. Not all the time. But now, like from this, well, let me go back and add a little more. Because I want to know where her eye sockets are. And the general orientation of things. Her hair's going to come out like that. She'll have her jacket. I might have to look up exactly what her jacket looks like. Because what's the is the collar like Gambit's, or is it like different? But to the most important part here, the boobs. Bring those down. And then for me, I think drawing ladies, you want to exaggerate certain curves. And the guys know what I'm talking about. Now the part that vexes many people. So she's going this way, right? So I gotta maintain that sort of thing. Her foot should be back here then, right? If this is her booty, right? If I'm looking through her, and this is that, then I guess more like that. Like it was a little bit too sideways there the first way that I had it. Let's come back here. She has a belt, right? Let's bring that belt around. Tighten up. Now this one goes. Would that be it? No. She has high heels, though, which changes things, doesn't it? She has, like, those high heels. Alright, let's just hope people aren't paying that much attention to her feet, right? Forget about her boots too. Do they come all the way up her thigh or what? That's way too out. She looks like she's flapping in the wind. Possible to fix that? Should it be tucked in tighter? Or should we just get rid of it and ask ourselves if we would even see that part of the leg? How much of it exactly? Why do you have a YouTube, Will? You suck at this. Whatever. It's a YouTube about how much I suck. But I will not suck forever. And when I don't suck, when the day comes that I don't suck, you're going to want to not have been mean to me. Unless it's funny or something. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see who's mean to me. I don't think I'm going to be mean to anybody. I see the independent comic book space right now, and I only really became aware of it last summer in like 23, because that's when I finished 30 pages of storyboard, and I thought, wow, this is I'm going to have to actually talk about myself like it occurred to me that the story I'd been writing and working myself up with and stuff, I was actually going to have to show it to people eventually. This would be more or less straight, right? Or should I curve it a little bit? Because if that's where her boot is, she has long boots, right? I'm not misremembering that. Do I need to bring up a Rogue reference? Or I'll just jump over to somebody else. Oh, that's right, I was going to do the face. I forgot to actually come around to do the face. So here's what I do. And this is just my workflow in general. Is I'll draw things real rough, and then I'll screen it, and then I can come back in here with black, and I can more thoughtfully ask myself these questions, which is how does that jaw look? You know, where are her eyes gonna be? Rogue. I had a crush on Rogue, and then I found out she was making out with Magneto. I'm like, old people. Old people gross me out. I don't want Rogue to be handled by some old magnetic man. Her nose isn't near cute enough. She has a cute nose, though, right? So, if she's heading straight in, and she's a rough in an almond shape for the eyes, and she's always smirking, right? And I don't have very many pixels here, as you can see. Like, I'm trying to do subtle little movements. And it's just filling up the pixels, so I just gotta leave a little hint of something there. I gotta shave or draw down, because, can't be dealing with that. Yeah, just in my mind, I'm looking at this, and maybe nobody else sees it, but just those little lines, man. That's the technique. That's what it means to have technique. Is when the subtle movements separate you from the average dipshit doing this. I always hesitate to draw in the pupils. It's just another lack of confidence issue. It's a confidence issue. Most of this is a confidence issue. Some of it is a skill issue. The skill issues I'm going to work out. That's why we're here. That's why we're living. That's why I live, to work out my skill issues. So, what's the deal with this headband? And I'm actually going to blue over this as well, like I blew over that other, because I put blue on it. And refine it a little more before the end. Should I just release this without listening to it? Or should I check to see if I'm breathing into this microphone? I'll check to see. I'll check to see if I'm breathing into the microphone too much. No one's gonna see the first issues or episodes, not yet. Sometimes I put lines down and I think they look so good. I'm like, man, if I could just hook up with a good colorist, if I could just have someone else do the parts that I don't like, that would be good. If AI didn't look like garbage to me, that would be good. And I think it'll get there eventually. Eventually, AI is going to be coloring people's comic books. But, like, artists will be able to, you know, elevate themselves to the point where they can market, I think. I want to just put zigzags on a jacket and be like, there it is. But later on, I'm going to be like, trying to analyze the folds. Leave it like that for now. I'm still figuring out my workflow, so it's like someday I feel like I'm not going to be going over things a million times before I call them finished, but for now it's like I feel like I'm getting like the gestural stuff in, then just working it out from there, little by like layer by layer. Looks like okay. I mean, they're high heels, but they're also boots, right? So it should be like a thicker heel, right? Gotta make the high heels more boot-like. And I'll look up her actual costume before I do like the final. Piece here. Give myself 10 more minutes to work on her. When it comes to hair, it's like a lot of it. I'm sure everyone's seen everyone who's trying to learn how to draw has seen the tutorials where it's like you just make the shape and then you define the shadows and the highlights. I'm like, okay, for me, I feel like that's easier to comfortably define if I literally fill out the shape by swooping where the hair is gonna go, you know. My Rogue has like a real 80s mullet. Should be longer though, right? It should be more like... like that. I want the girl going that way. Is that the general shape of her hair I want? Sure. I think they're just posing, man. She doesn't need to be like in a battle position, so I'll just put her hand just like out a little bit in like a relaxed position. And now I'm looking at it. And I'm like, okay, if I'm roughing out a fist, I can do it like I'm real comfortable, and then I'm roughing out this hand, it's like I gotta do it differently. I gotta do that a little differently. Let's make her wrist, let's say, down here would be the thumb then, and I'll bring up that pointer finger. That looks a little bit better. And you know, because of the angle on that, I'm gonna bring it up a little more. And then bring her arm up to meet it, and then that actually looks a little bit better. That looks like we're almost there. I wanted to make this first episode one. Alright. So we worked on Rogue, on the X-Men. Let's make the X-Men a work in progress for the show where I talk about, for the show, whatever. I'll return to this. You guys will see this, well, the 0 people watch. Anyway, this can be viewed being accomplished, bit by bit on the podcast. I hope people tell me I suck in various ways so that I can continue to improve. We're working on, I've already posted these first 2 pages on X. Just showcasing my complete lack of lettering ability and my rudimentary shading ability. Like, these were, I'm forcing myself to put them out as a rough draft to prevent myself from trying to over polish, because I'm not the artist I want to be, and I'm just gonna be spinning my wheels trying to make it look like somebody good drew it if I don't put it out there. And the story needs to be told. I'm putting it out there. But anyway, so first page, I have my android. He's eating this bit of metal, right? The plot device. Okay? the wonder material that nobody could make anymore because the dude who understood the science died, and they've been trying their best to recreate it. This is like they finally recreated this stuff because they only had a certain amount of it, so there's only a certain amount of gravity manipulation that they can do, and it's all controlled by this certain company that owns the technology. But anyway, this android is not happy that they have managed to create this thing, and he eats it. He eats it and starts blowing up. I feel like I'm 2 ingredients away from being able to draw good energy, like going everywhere. Because this is just the syrup pen, like, doing this. And maybe that's all I need. Maybe that's literally all it's ever going to be. We'll see. I think it looks kind of cool. But I need people who know better to tell me otherwise. I'm like desperate to be torn apart right now. And then page 2, it explodes, and he is sent careening up into the sky. So these 2 pages are posted right now, and I'm working on the 3rd page. 3rd page, we shift into what Hayden's looking at. Hayden is looking at a immersive podcast experience at the moment. And these guys are talking about... One guy's talking about how good we have it. He's sort of laying out what the world is going to be like. At the end of the 2nd page, and I didn't put this in the rough copy because I forgot, there's going to be a text box down here. I want to put it in red. Sorry. There's going to be a text box down here that starts the bald guy's sentence, where it's going to be like, I think things have never been better. I really think things have never been better. We have 2 android superheroes going around cleaning up the planet, and homelessness is practically a choice at this point. Because in this day and age, in 2056, it is. Because we have the technology, we can relocate you anywhere in the country anyway. Like, it is a choice. Anyway. For many people. Certainly anyway. That's the quagmire of making assumptions. But these guys are talking. This guy disagrees. The guy with the mullet and the beard, he's going to be like, look, why are suicides still at all-times highs? We need purpose for people, not AI, because in 2024, we're at the point where people are examining how robots are going to replace us. In 2056, robots have more or less replaced most of us, and the general feeling is that the world is pretty much theirs now. Like, we're useless. And that is a problem. People aren't useless, man. Life has purpose. Your life has purpose. Mine is to make this comic book and convince people that I'm a genius so that I can make more comic books. Because I have more stories. This is not the only story. But he's interrupted by his personal assistant, who is this nice looking sprite who pops up. Basically, everyone has their own Cortana. Everyone who has these earbuds in. These earbuds project virtual reality around you. That's how the technology is in the future. We're not doing... Everybody's got... It's like, oh man, if we have a fictional character in virtual reality, we got to put something over their whole face. I am doing away with that with release. I think that my imaginary future technology, they can bounce the image off of other things and create illusions in front of your face. That's how my fictional technology works. So I'm working on this. I feel like it's funny. Maybe not funny. Anyway, it's interesting as an artist, because no one's going to look at this particular picture of this dude for more than a second, because we're reading the words. But I really feel like I did a good job on this sleeve today. When you're brand new, little victories feel important. Anyway, I'll be finishing this up. It'll probably take me a few days because I gotta work all day tomorrow. My schedule does not lend itself well to producing things, but we're at an hour. I'm gonna cut myself off because I'll talk forever, and I'll see you on the next one.